Morning, Sarah Hepola.
Good morning, Nancy Rommelman, or should I say
Don't do it.
Maidenform? That's my new nickname for you.
That I was not expecting. Do you want to tell the listeners, or are we just going to leave that a mystery?
I thought maybe you could show the listeners.
Oh, I'm not showing the listeners. And then today, in fact, I'm wearing like a $6 bra from Forever 21. Okay, listeners, I called Sarah the other day from upstate. It was hot, and I just had on my Maidenform bra. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
First
I'm
of all,
saying no more.
Nancy FaceTime's like a 16-year-old. And for
What?
somebody like me that is like not really interested in holding my phone while I talk, it is one of the great I've got this new this is so bright.
You look
Hold
great.
on. No, it's too bright.
You look like a movie
Calm
star.
down.
Okay,
I am a movie star.
I'm
I
calming.
star on a show called Smoke 'Em If You Got 'Em.
That's right.
Okay, so back to the story because it's good.
Okay.
I'm like, I answer the phone and Nancy's just like, da 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 da, and she's wearing a bra. And I'm like, I'm just not gonna even mention it. Like, I'm just gonna pretend like she's not calling me in her bra. And then at one point, she's like, "You like my bra?" And she
I
looks like her bra. I'm not trying to be salacious. It's just like it looked like a J.C. Penney's catalog from 1978.
I like
I
those bras.
And so I go, is that a Maidenform? And she was like, oh, yes, it is.
I don't actually know what it is, but it's that style. Yeah, I like those.
So what did I do, Nancy?
You showed me your bra.
I took my shirt
See?
off so we could
That's
both be
right.
talking in our bra.
That's right.
Now, this is my way of plugging our YouTube
There we
channel.
go.
If you
Yep.
haven't
Yep.
subscribed to our YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? And I think, Nancy, it's worth asking if we should do an episode just in our bras.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe for the premium subscribers, no. Yeah, like sure, we'll have a little poll here in the episode
Yeah,
notes.
we'll have a poll.
You let
Is
us
this
know.
interesting? Would
Yeah.
this be interesting?
Look, what is it called? It's called Smoke 'Em If You Got 'Em, right? And we've
Smoke
got
them if
them.
you got it,
We're just
babe. I'm not scared.
I'm not scared. What are you kidding? Of being in my bra? Okay.
But you got
I
to wear that maiden form thing.
all right, we'll see. Now, I thought you were going to say good morning, Nancy, now potentially living in a socialist city.
Yeah,
That's what I thought you were
I
going to
am
open with.
curious how your socialist utopia is going.
It's great. The groceries are free. Well, whatever. No, the groceries aren't free. The childcare is free. The minimum wage is going to go up to $30 an hour. I think that's probably more than we make here. So yeah, let's do it. For people who don't know, the Democratic primary was yesterday, and I think he's 33-year-old member of the Democratic Socialists of America, Zoran Mamdani. He won. He beat Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo. Oh, you may have heard of Andrew Cuomo. Why? Because he's been around since the dawn of man. And the Democrats, basically, because they feel we should all live in a gerontocracy,
Gerontocracy.
they trotted him out thinking like, oh yeah, we got this because everybody knows his name. New York Times came out and were like, you got to be careful of that Mamdani, which I don't disagree with. And yeah, let's back Andrew Cuomo. And they did a whole bunch of questions with him. And one of them they asked was like, so what if you changed your mind on politically? He's like, can't think of anything. Not the right answer. Then the thing that really sank him, I think, is they asked him what kind of bagel, because it's a cute kind of New York question, and he said English muffin. That's a problem.
That's unbelievably stupid.
It sunk him.
Why would he do that?
Because he's Andrew Cuomo, and they just feel that they're just going to waltz in. So anyway, we now in the fall, we will have a runoff between Mamdani, Eric Adams, who is the current president, who left the Democratic Party for some party I've never heard of, and Curtis Sliwa, who you may remember from the Guardian Angels of the 1970s and 80s, the guys that wore the little berets and they hung around on the subways because they were going to protect you because, New York police or New Yorkers weren't doing it. He's the Republican candidate. And I got to tell you, people are tilting towards Sliwa. They're just like, please, these are our choices? These are our choices. So
I
that's where we
I
are.
confess I had only been like half watching this, so I thought it was the actual mayor's race, like not a primary
Oh God.
originally. And I
Yep.
was like, "Oh,
Yep.
I guess Eric Adams is just bailed because he's such a weirdo
Well,
and he's been sort of such a
he's had a lot of.
disappointment, scandal and weirdness." And
Yep. Yep.
I was like, "Oh, he just dipped." No, he's still around.
Yeah, they're all still around, Sarah. They're like the crypt keepers. You think that they're gone, and then they like emerge from the ground with their scaly hands, wanting to lead us to wherever. So I don't know. I
I went to look at that screenshot that I sent you yesterday of Cuomo on Fox News, and the chyron
uh,
beneath it said, "I'm not perverted, I'm Italian,"
yeah,
which is fantastic.
which I love actually. But
I mean, I think
anyway,
every Italian person should just that should be like their new slogan.
yeah. So that's where we
Family
are.
flag.
We're still alive here, but it was pretty decisive too. It was like 43% or something. So
Did you vote?
I didn't because I'm not it's the
Oh, you're not
Democratic
a
Party.
registered
You have to be
Democrat.
a Democrat, so I know I don't vote in the primaries. So,
Who would you have voted for?
oh, okay, I find it unbelievable that I would say I would possibly have voted for Cuomo, but I definitely am not voting for Mamdani. I don't know, maybe I would have just punted and not voted at all. I will vote in the general. I will. I
I
usually
would
do.
have voted for Cuomo, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, this new guy, the 33-year-old guy, I got to say, he made a video about stopping the rent, the
I
whatever it is, very catchy. Very catchy. I was like, "Who is this guy? Is he hosting a new show?" He looks really charming.
okay,
He's
so
going to he's going to stop the rent hikes in New York City and I'm listening.
I will say I saw that commercial. I think I only saw it once, maybe twice, but I it was so 1980s. I kept expecting like Alf to jump out in the corner and go, "That's right." It was so cornball.
But,
And
like,
yet
intentionally cornball.
maybe
It was yeah, it absolutely was. It was knowingly it was a satire, and it was very clever.
I think that people like new. People like new. And it's not just because, yeah, they tilt socialist. That's not it. It's because we're tired of seeing the same face and they've got history and we don't like that history. And here's a new guy and he's 33 and he's got a ton of energy and he's having like press conferences at 5:30 in the morning of the election day, the primaries. They like new. And that's, I mean, we all like new. New flavor of soda, new flavor of yogurt,
I
new
don't like new,
candidate.
I like old. I like
Do
old
you?
cat, old Diet Pepsi,
Oh, Diet
old-fashioned
Pepsi.
cigarettes. I'm a
Yeah,
traditionalist.
you are. Um, so that's that. I am still alert and awake here. Um, what else is going on in the world? We're going to talk about an article. I know that, and we're going to talk about a murder, or no, a killing.
Yeah,
I
which
mean, the
one
same
do you
thing.
wanna do first? There's a murder, and then there's a viral story that, is about men and where they went to.
You
The
choose.
they're both stories are really about where men went to because one is about a guy, a husband, I'm sorry, a
Boyfriend,
boyfriend who's
boyfriend.
accidentally or intentionally, we don't know, killed,
Yep,
the
yep.
Karen Reed case. The other is the Modern Love column called Men, Where Have You Gone? Question mark. Please come back.
Let's start with Karen Reed.
I watched, first of all, I just want to say about this. You know, when there are like cases out of the corner of your eye, like this happened with the TV shows too, like with The Sopranos. I was just like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, I'm just not going to,
Yeah,
I'm not playing, I'm not watching,
yeah.
I'm tuning everything out. So the Karen Reed thing starts like sliding into my periphery and people are like, are you watching? Are you following? And I'm like, no. And then yesterday I listened to our friend Billy Binion from Reason was on talking to Katie Herzog, our most recent guest on Blocked and Reported. And they're talking about the Karen Reed case. And I'm like, nobody told me this was about blackouts. What the
Well,
fuck?
Well, I first of all, I knew even less than you about the Karen Reed case. I kept seeing Karen, the word Karen. I thought, oh my God, it's another Karen blow up of some kind. Then I did. I also subscribed to Blocked and Reported, as you all should, listeners. And I saw that they were talking about
Katie
it.
told me
Love.
she comped you.
Oh yeah, well, because we comped her.
I'm just saying I
That's how
pay
we.
for my blocked and reported because I didn't get comped, but you
Um,
did.
Look, Sarah, one of us has to be special. But anyway, and I saw that was Billy, who I love, who's at Reason, and I saw they were talking about it, and I thought I haven't listened to it yet, but I thought, well, that's
It's really good.
interesting. It must have. So then I decided. So here the other night, I am finishing up. If you must know, I'm finishing up a crocheting project, and when you're crocheting, you don't just sit there and crochet. I'm not like Granny on the porch yet. Like you want something else going on, a podcast or so it's, oh, I can listen to this or kind of half watch it. So I too watched the 4 or 5 part documentary or docu-series, whatever you call it. What is it called? The Karen Reed case?
A Body in the Snow.
A Body in the Snow. So I watched it too. And I very early had an opinion if I of what was going on here. I don't know if you did as quickly. I'm wondering what you thought at the end. So there's spoilers alert. Spoilers ahead, guys, if you haven't watched this. But it is a very interesting, well, kind of an interesting story.
Oh, I think
Do
it's
you want?
super interesting, and
Do you want to?
I got super sucked in by that
Okay,
story.
you want to tee it
But,
up?
you know, it's so like, basically, this is about blackouts, reckless drinking, and cops, and it's like, "Oh, hello, Sarah Hepola. Welcome to your areas of expertise." You know, it's crazy how much this, like, overlaps with my world, including my dating world, because for, a while I dated a homicide detective. Um and so I don't want to spend tons of time on this story because it's gotten so much
Yeah,
ink. But what I want to say is the Karen Reed herself is like 44 years old. She's very sassy. She's very pretty. She talks in a like Boston. She's pretty. You made a face
she's
when I
from
said pretty,
Boston.
but I mean she's conventionally attractive. She's not my kind of gal, but like
Yeah,
she's thin, pretty, fashionable.
she's saucy.
Um yeah, she's totally saucy.
Yeah.
When it began, I was like, "Oh, I didn't know she was so appealing." And then I'm about 3 episodes in and I'm like, "Oh, wow, she's a despicable person." So, you know me, I am the benefit of the doubt giver on this pod,
Yep.
and it's very
Yep.
hard to turn me. Like, especially when you're a heavy drinker, you're a middle-aged woman, you're mouthy, like, I give you such a wide berth. But as that came, I was losing all patience. And, what I see, from my armchair detective role is on one side, you have the prosecution that overreached with by trying to charge her with intentionally killing her boyfriend.
Yep.
Basically what
Yep.
happens is there's a night of drinking, they go to another location, he's going to go inside to the party, she's going to go home, and the next day he's found in the snow dead. And there's so many confounding issues that make this a very difficult case. There's a blizzard going on.
He's a police officer. The
He's a
house.
police officer. To what extent is that, they're at a police office, I think he's a sergeant, a detective sergeant maybe. He's inside, it's his house. The ATF officer that Karen is like starting to have an affair with is inside. Like, there's all these confounding details. And the biggest one, and the one that just absolutely I lost sympathy with her. And it's the first moments of the series, although it takes a while to reveal itself. She doesn't remember. She doesn't remember anything. She doesn't know. Like, she thinks she dropped him off at the bar that they went. She doesn't remember going to this other location and coming home. She drank so much. And, I've been there. So, like, I've driven in a blackout, okay? it's bad and it's also something I've done. Um, but when she tells the story, she's like, it's like she's invented all these details. And this is the first time we meet her. And she's telling you how she pulled up, and she's telling you how he pulled the drink out of the car and she walked him go up to the door. And for an hour and a half to 2 hours of this, I'm thinking, well, gosh, if she watches him go into the house, then how can she this, that, or the other thing? And it takes forever to for us to learn that she has blank spots from basically the time they're at the bar to the next day when she wakes up. She doesn't remember. And she has the gall, after all of this, to sit on the couch in front of the HBO directors and say things like, I don't black out. It's not like I black out.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, we've all watched series like this, and we know how they constructed these. The filmmakers had incredible access, like in real time, to the trial, and she is. I found what it's not so much what they were doing, but what her defense team was trying to embroider, like all the reasons why, in fact, like the detective, now the cop boyfriend could have gone inside and why he would have been killed in there. Oh, I mean, Karen had had a few flirty texts with a guy who was in there. I'm like, yeah, so that's like, well, I'm going to murder her boyfriend. Now, this
Oh,
doesn't
yeah, no, it's
make
I love the
any sense.
spaghetti thrown at the wall by
It's
the
just
defense. First of all, they're ingenious. They're ingenious. She hires the team behind Kevin Spacey. Where she's getting
right.
this money, I don't know. This
And
is
also
outlandishly expensive.
and it's also like, well, now you can see why she hired that team because I was like, "Do I? Like, how did that
No, I don't see
happen?"
it at all because what
No,
does Kevin Spacey
have to
have to
do
do
with
with
it
this? No, it's
at all.
crazy. It's
No.
crazy. But for whatever reason, they sign on to, they're in New York and they sign on to this case in Canton, Massachusetts. Or I guess they were in Los Angeles. Who knows where they were? They're not from Canton, which is
No.
outside of Boston, which seems to be
Yep.
an affluent suburb.
Not necessarily. There's a billion little suburbs outside of Boston, and one of them, I don't think it was particularly,
But the
affluent. I think
houses
it's
are
near.
really big.
No, I don't know.
They
It
are
looked
to
like it's kinda
me.
okay,
They
they look
look
like
big.
well, I don't think I think it's pretty standard Boston suburbs near Quincy, and in any case,
Okay, I think of Boston as a real working class town, so
parts of it
these
are.
suburbs looked a little upper middle class to me, and
Okay,
and
I'm glad you said that because there is something else you said, and we'll get back to her for a little bit before we peel off to the next topic. You said to me something very interesting last night. You said, these people that agglomerate around causes, they
oh
really
god,
need more things to do. They need a
they
job. I'm
need a
like, yeah, and
job. These
or
people
kids.
need
Okay.
jobs.
But I made an observation here. And when you were first saying that to me, I didn't realize you were talking about the show. I thought you just meant the stuff I've been reporting on, all the protests and stuff. And I was like,
Well,
yeah,
because by the way, because she becomes a cause celeb through this
exactly.
because through social media. And so
Exactly.
all this brigade of her supporters start showing up at the courthouse and they wear pink to support her and and they're just this very motley crew and I'd be curious why you think they're there. The defense attorney tries to convince us it's about the injustices of the Boston
No,
Police Department and
no,
I'm like, I don't think so.
no,
But
no.
they're booing the parents of the victim. It's outrageous.
And there's a blogger named Tomboy, I believe, who like
Turtle
makes it his
boy.
turtle boy,
Turtle
is it?
boy.
Okay. Who like makes it his thing and he's on his megaphone and of course he's getting sunshine. Now he's like the person that's doing this and he gets traction and clicks. I think this is in 2022, early 2022. We have come out of the 2020 protests, 2020, 2021 protests. We have gone through COVID. It is working class Boston. Now, working class Boston, I am going to posit, were not the people that were out there marching in BLM marches. Okay.
No.
Boston it's been kind of has
They
some
want their own
history
cause.
of
Everybody gets a
they
cause.
want their own cause. No, this is exactly right. The impulse to
Yeah.
feel important, to feel part of a community, to feel like you're making a difference isn't everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in kindergarten or 80 or where you are on the spectrum. This is a human thing. They haven't had their moment, and all of a sudden, she's one of their own. She looks like I know Karen. I went to school with Karen. I did this. She looks like my sister.
She
Like,
looked like my sister.
right,
Yeah.
like
I mean,
Disney.
I think there was a lot of like, in fact, it's so funny because this is the Karen moment. This is the, don't be a Karen. And they're like, no, we're
Be a
Karens.
Karen. Be a
Be a
Karen.
Karen.
Be a Karen. So I think that was part of it, and they got
Yeah.
emotional about it. They got emotional about it, and it brought them out. It brought them out into the streets. I found the thing I really would first of all, she's saucy. She's also incredibly crude. I mean, we hear her screaming, leaving messages for her boyfriend who is now already lying in the stove, dying, like, you pervert, who are you fucking? This and that. She's like screaming while
You
she's still
fucking
probably,
loser,
you
you
fucking
fucking
loser.
pervert. Like I do not I have known women like this and I have dated men who love women like this.
Oh my
I
God.
cannot handle women like
It
this.
was horrifying, and then there's, like, a story, they were in Aruba over New Year's, and his sister had died of a brain tumor years before. It was like his sister was, like, his world, and they're in Aruba. Let's just preface this saying, there is so much drinking going on. She's like, "Well, we're in Aruba, there's lots of drinking." She walks out, and he's in the lobby of the hotel, her boyfriend, giving a hug to this woman who was his sister's late sister's best friend, and she fucking loses it. She's fucking screaming, "Who the fuck are you?" And it's like, this
What
is not
by the way, Nancy, why is she doing that? Play
she's drunk.
therapist for a second. No, yeah, yes, but why else?
She's insecure? I don't
She
know.
is, but why?
I don't know why.
She's the one that's having
Oh, of
affairs.
course, projection. Of
She's
course.
projecting.
Of course.
And so because we see this with the guy from ATF, she's putting her line in everybody's inbox. And so when she sees him, she assumes he's doing it. And
Of
you're
course.
exactly right. Like, of course, it's uncorked by alcohol, it's fueled by insecurity, but it is classic projection.
She's just I don't know, man. I understand that she's this kind of person. I understand that, I don't know how much love there was between them, but they've been together a few years. Like in the courtroom,
She's so unsympathetic though about it. She's
she,
like,
she
"We weren't married. We didn't have kids."
and she's mugging, she's smiling, she's laughing in the courtroom to the point where the judge has to say something like, "Is there something funny here, ma'am?" But she doesn't ever really, and they could have cut this out. She doesn't
Yeah.
ever really express like, "My poor I'm so sorry that he died this way." I mean, she does for a second, but it's all about her. It's all about her. It's the Karen show.
And
It's the
that's
Karen
where I
show.
lose sympathy. I think you've identified it entirely is the argument about this is going to be around the criminality of it. Once again, I think that's like sort of a red herring because, I didn't finish my original thought, which was that on one side, you have the prosecution overreaching with an intentional murder charge. And on her side, you have her team overreaching with these conspiracy charges. I think the most logical thing is that through excessive drinking, either she hit this guy or she left him there and he fell in the snow and like
Yeah. Oh,
excessive drinking is the reason. It's the glue that holds this whole story
yes.
together. And
Yes.
so whether or not she did something or didn't do something, I never see the remorse.
No remorse. None.
And
I
I see the freak out when she finds him, and I find the panic that she's going to be held responsible. But I never see her turning to the parents who've already lost a child. This is their second child to lose. And they are walking into a courtroom for the second time. Well, no, this is the first trial. There was a second trial later, but where people are booing at them. I never see her turning to them and
yeah.
saying, "I'm so sorry. I know I said bad things, but I loved your son. I'm grateful I had the time with him. Um, I wish I would take that night back in a minute. And, here's the thing that I'm going to have to go on a little bit of a rant for a second. I hope it's not going to be very long. Like I said, the glue that holds this together is excessive drinking. And this is one more story where the center of the mystery is the blackout. And it's the one thing nobody's talking about. I haven't finished this 6-part series, but I'm waiting for the blackout expert to come on to explain that amnesia is a common side effect of the drug that you get at the gas station. I know from my own experience how little people understand about blackouts. It hit home for me. Billy Binion, on talking to Katie Herzog, was talking about legalizing drugs. He was about to do like a
Yeah, they
thing
had that
at Howard
debate.
University. And, you know, he's talking about the difference between like what's moral and what's legal, and what is recommended usage and what is is excess and addiction and these things, and I thought doing a very sophisticated job. My book came out 10 years ago, and I've been waiting for the blackout moment. And I've watched the Kavanaugh hearings, and I've watched the Brock Turner fiasco, and I've watched the Karen Reed case, and I'm really still not convinced that anybody in America, except the 10 people that follow me on Twitter, know more about blackout than they used to. And it's ridiculous. And can I just say one more thing and then end rant? When I was in AA, I first got sober in 25. When I was 25. I never talk about this, but I quit drinking for about a year. I went to the program. They were all old people. I hated it. But I would listen. And there was a woman that I never forgot. And she told a story that every morning when she wakes up, she goes to the garage and she looks to see if there's blood on the grill of the car.
Oh my God.
Because she can't remember how she got home. And she lives in terror that one day she's going to take out a deer, a person, her husband. That's how blackout drinkers live. And there weren't a lot of gasps around the room. There was a lot of nodding. I don't know what Karen Reed's drinking history is, but I can tell you that what she's described is a classic blackout. What she displays is classic minimizing behavior. Did you hear her talk about how the drinks weren't really
Oh
7 or
yeah.
8? It was 5 because there's actually doubles, so they're not
Yeah.
real drinks. And
And I
then
didn't
somebody bought
drink
me this, but I
that.
didn't drink it. And by the way, I want to know how much she drank before they went out that night, because I promise you, she didn't go out sober.
Yeah, so just listeners, so she the prosecution had counted, I think, 8 or 9 drinks, and they can do that because there's like cameras in all these bars. You
Oh
can
yeah, yeah.
you can see everything. So 8 or 9 drinks. She's a small person. She probably weighs 110 pounds soaking wet. 8 or 9 drinks in 3 hours is a an incredible amount of alcohol. Yeah, but she tried to shade it. Well, it wasn't really, and those were shots, and so that doesn't really matter, and that was inside that drink, so that's only one. It's like, lady.
Lady, stop. Stop.
Yeah,
And she's 44 years old.
yeah,
It's like that's one thing Katie Herzog was saying about this. She was like, God, they're all in middle age and they're all drinking like college students. And I have
yeah,
to tell you, having dated a cop, that was absolutely the world and continues to be his world. I got off that party barge. He's still on it. And the barge is much deeper in the waters these days, as he's in his 40s. He's probably 44 right now. And I promise you, he drinks a bottle of Jameson a night,
Ugh. Yeah,
every single night. And when I was hanging out with him a couple years ago, he's popping Tums and he's like, I don't know what's wrong. And I'm like, I think it's the gut rot that you drink every night.
I think it's the gut rot. Yeah, I was pretty amazed that they're all at one bar. They all meet. They're all middle-aged. They all meet at one bar at, like, let's say it's 9:30. Then they decide to go at like 11 to the bar next door. Okay, that makes sense. But then it's like 12:30 and they're like, "Let's go to the Albert's house. It's snowing like crazy." And they all say,
Mhm.
"Yeah, we all do this. We just all drive drunk and we're all cops and everybody knows each other." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, these are parents." Anyway, yeah, I
Yeah, it's wild, and I don't know if this will come out in the next couple of episodes. I don't think so because I haven't heard about it, but this whole thing smells of, wife swappery
oh God. Ugh.
and open
Eh,
marriages to me. Very
um,
much so. Cops love that stuff.
all right. I well, before we finish
But
this topic, I
by the way, there are probably cops in our audience, so I should say not all cops like that. But what I have learned about cops is that they have very similar profile overlaps with criminals, meaning that they are adrenaline junkies. They love to push boundaries. They want to know how much they can get away with, but they're working on one side. I mean, this is the idea of Heat. This is the idea of The Wire. That these
yeah, 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 yeah.
two
Yeah. Yeah.
sides are actually very similar. So
Yeah.
that's what I've noticed as well.
I wanna just make one
Oh,
comment.
we can we just say that this docu-series, the reason we're talking about this is because this docu-series came out and it's been a big hit, but also she had the first trial was a hung jury, and she has had a second trial and been acquitted.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Well, I would have voted too that she was guilty.
So I
I
really think this is an involuntary manslaughter case.
Oh, yes, I
Um,
agree.
and
I
and
agree.
no doubt it's reckless drinking, although she was found guilty of like reckless drinking or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been a law tube case. There's been a friend of mine was just telling me like, oh, I watched that case being with all my lawyers on YouTube, and they're all saying she's innocent, and I'm like, well, she's innocent of intentional murder.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, who do who sh
We all knew that. It's silly.
I think she dropped him off, hit him with the car, drove away.
Yeah, me too.
And just doesn't remember. I mean, we've talked about my brownouts, whatever. I've never been in that situation, but I know what it's like to sort of not really remember or remember just in like the haziest way. But before we get on to our next topic, Sarah, I remember when we were watching the Depp Heard trial and you're like, God, I really wish I could go. And I was like, well, you should go. And then you went. You were talking about blackout and you have been talking about blackouts. And I hate to tell you, there is going to be no blackout expert coming onto the stand. Maybe you're the one that just has to keep doing it because no one else is doing it, Sarah. They're just not. I mean, I'm sure there are people that want to, but they're not. Okay. And I don't know if that's because
Well,
there's
I'll
an
tell you
alcohol
what,
lobby.
by the way, one of the foremost blackout experts that testified at all the different hearings, she got canceled and she tapped out because she testified in the Brock Turner case and she got piled on. And she was like,
Well,
"You know what? Retirement looks nice."
yeah, because nobody wants their client. Who knows why? But this is another more conversations to be had about this or more work. But we're gonna get on to our next topic here because we all have things to do. And because man, I reread the piece this morning and I was just like, I'm kind of a lit anew, let's say. So this was a piece that ran in the Modern Love column in the New York Times. I don't know if you guys read Modern Love. It's been going on a long, long time now. What, like 15, 20 years?
Probably twenty years or more. I mean, it
Yeah,
was such a big deal in the aughts. I thought it was must read. I wanted so
it
badly to
was.
get in Modern Love. And you have a Modern Love column.
I have a Modern Love. I think in 2015, something like that. I can't remember, but I thought it was a good one about my ex and how he lived with us with cancer. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
beautiful piece. Yeah.
Thank you. Um,
And I
this
think very typical for that column's depth and range, that it was about love, but it was also about like complicated love. And here, this was a story about you taking care of your ex as he was dying.
That's right. The first time he had cancer, when he didn't die, when he recovered, which was obviously super nice. Okay, this was a piece called Men, Where Have You Gone? Please Come Back by Rachel Drucker. So it, at least in my Twitter timeline, it was getting a little bit of shit. Like, oh God, what is this? So, but I don't know if you sent it. No, I sent it to you. I hadn't read it
Mhm.
yet. I think I was working or something. I was like, I
Well,
haven't read it yet, but let's take a look.
this was a story that launched a thousand shit fits based on the headline alone. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yep.
actually talk about the story,
Yep. Yep.
but the headline, which again is "Men, where have you gone? Please come back." It was almost like, I mean, I thought it was actually a very clever headline on their part because it invited so much engagement. Um, it's uh, I mean, Pete, I saw guys firing off on, 500 words on this before they'd ever click the story. So if the point was engagement, they got it.
They got it. Right. Um, so it's written by a woman who basically is bemoaning the fact that she feels in her experience and I guess within the culture that she's part of, men are hiding. That was the word that was used in the headline. At least she maybe didn't write the headline, and that they were hiding behind their phones or just not deciding not to engage with
So
women.
can I read the subhead?
Yes.
So many men have retreated from intimacy, hiding behind firewalls, filters, and curated personas, dabbling and scrolling. We miss you.
I have a question for you. If I have a party and I invite you and you decide not for whatever reason not to come to the party, are you hiding from me?
Depends.
Right. But in the main, I would say if there's a party and someone doesn't come, that doesn't mean they're hiding from you. When you say that men are hiding, you are by necessity setting yourself at the middle. You are the player here. And now these people, if they're not doing what you expect them to do or what you want them to do, they're hiding from you. It could
Well,
be the
I
case.
it
Hold on,
I
hold on, hold on. It could be the case that they're just doing something else, that they're not even thinking about you, that they're just not there because that was like they had a they're just not. She centers herself, and in my opinion, she centers women at the center, and the men are not exactly behaving in a way that's anticipated or expected or desired. But this isn't really about the men. It's about the women and their expectations not being met. That's how I read the piece.
Okay. So, can I go?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you and I have a very different take and read on this
Yep.
story.
Yep.
And I guess, before, cuz basically you don't like it, I basically do like it. Um
Hey, listeners in Listener Land, and for those of you on YouTube, maybe watching it, thanks for being here. This is the end of the free portion of this episode. If you would like the entire episode, got to head over to Substack. That's smoke'empodcast.substack.com. Become a paid subscriber. Many ways to do that. You get the full episodes and you get some other niceties and etc. and etc. And if you are over here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button as well. We appreciate it. Tell your friends. Thanks.